All right, folks, so at this point, I have gathered my materials. I'm trying to fix my camera here. There we go. I've gathered my materials and I'm ready to begin my work and start painting. As you can kind of see in front of us, I have an automatic drawing that I did, something very simple. Tried to turn my brain off a little bit, made some shapes, and I'm going to now try my best to paint some of these shapes, all right? So as you can see, I have only gotten, a few different colors here. I'm trying to limit the amount of colors that I have so that I'm not wasting paint. And then I also have a paper towel, which I forgot to mention earlier, but this is very important, just to be able to clean out your brushes, right? To be able to wipe up any messes that end up getting on the table, all that kind of stuff. So got my water cup, paint palette with the paints, a variety of paintbrushes. I have 4 here. I really don't think you need more than 3 at a time, especially if we're going to be sharing as a class. So try to limit the amount of brushes that you end up having. But this kind of helps. I have 4 brushes, I have 4 colors, and so I can kind of switch between colors when I need to. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the process of painting. And I'm not gonna do a ton of painting right now, but just to kind of show you what's going on. Now I found this brush back at the sink. It was not cleaned properly. Originally you can kind of see there is some dried paint here in this bottom section, which means that somebody at some point did not do a good job of cleaning. So we will talk about cleaning brushes at the end of class here in the next video. But you also just want to check and make sure that your brush is clean before you start painting on it. Because if you go ahead and put it into a color and there's already like red in the paintbrush itself, it's obviously going to mix with the yellow and not give you the pure color that you're looking for. So what I might end up doing is just taking my paper towel, just trying to make sure that my brush is relatively dry and that there's not too much paint in there. And it looks like it's just wet. It's not, there's no paint left in there. What's here is actually dried on there, right? So I'm just trying to make sure that that's good. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and dip in to my yellow like that. There's a section right here on my palette where I can kind of just make sure that I have a good amount of yellow on both sides of my brush. So I have a nice even coat. You can kind of see, it looks like that. Not too much, not too little. If you're trying to be very precise, it's important to make sure that your brush has the proper amount of paint on there. I'm going to go ahead and choose sort of this middle section here, which these rays kind of look like a sun to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and start painting in this section. I can also kind of see that that was not enough paint because my brush is starting to get this dry brush effect where you can kind of see it's like skipping a little bit. You can kind of see that around there. This middle section is good, but there's skipping around there. So I want to make sure I get enough paint on my brush so it moves fluidly. Let's try that again. That's much better. My light keeps going off. Apologies. Now, the nice thing about acrylic paint is a lot of times you can end up painting over stuff. It is sometimes difficult to paint over certain colors because certain colors have a harder time being able to painted over than others, but you can. Might take a few coats, but you can paint over something if you make a mistake or if you go over the lines or whatever. But you can kind of see, that's where I'm at. I have a pretty decent, it's pretty close up to the line. So let's say I don't have all the brushes that I have and I want to be able to switch this up and use this for a different color. I'm just gonna use what's left on my brush so I'm not being wasteful here. I'm gonna have this section over here being painted as well. Just to be able to make sure I'm not wasting paint. There we go. I can kind of feel that most of the paint is out of there. And there we go. All right, to clean this brush while I'm at my seat, I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna take my paper towel. I'm going to try to pull out as much of the paint as I can. You can kind of see there was pretty decent amount of paint in there. There we go. Then once I have a lot of the paint off, I can go ahead and use my water brush. So I'm going to kind of swirl it around. You can kind of see it changes the color of the water in there. Might kind of hit it against the bottom just to kind of break up any paint chunks and stuff that you might have in the brush, the bristles of the brush. And then I usually try to like wipe it along the side, just in case, again, there's like, you know, chunks of the paint that's on there. And then in order to kind of wring it out, I push it against the lip of the cup, and you can kind of see the water kind of go back down into the cup, just to kind of help clear it out. Now I'm going to check to see if I did a good job of being able to clean out the paint in there. And so I'm going to go ahead and fold that over top. And as I can kind of see, I think for the most part, there might be a little bit of yellow right in here. It looks like for the most part, I'm pretty clean. So I might just do that one more time. And now that's looking good, right? I can tell that there isn't any more paint in there. This is really important if you're trying to switch to a different color, which I'll do real quick. So now I can go ahead and switch, get my purplish color, and go for it again. Maybe I'll have purple right next to yellow. They're complementary colors. So I think that'll really allow this to pop. All right, so that's really what you're trying to do as you're painting at your seat. That way you don't have to go back to the sink every single time you want to change colors, or every single time your brush gets dirty. All right, so those are the basics while you're cleaning and painting at your seat. Once you're finished and it's time to clean up, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our brushes, especially like pretend these are all dirty. I'm going to take them, you know, in my cup like this. I am going to take these over to the sink, and in this next video, I'll explain what it looks like to clean your brushes at the actual sink. All right. You're also probably going to take your paper towel with you. If there's any, you know, let's say that there's some paint already on the table. Now, I know that you might be saying, but there's a ton of dry paint on the table that nobody cleaned up, and it looks like the art room. Yes, but for instance, if I have the next person come in and, you know, I'm putting folders down and people get their project out, and then they go ahead and put their project down, you know, on the paper or on the table, then you can kind of end up looking like, oh, whoops, this was somebody's nice drawing that they were working really hard on, and now it's ruined because there's paint there. So we want to make sure that as our part of our cleanup procedure, we're wiping down any paint, any water. You know, even water can kind of damage somebody's drawing or painting. Trying to make sure that everything's kind of dry. All right, so I might wipe up any paint that I see before I go and take things to the sink, and then we'll go over to the sink.